So, feminine energy requires masculine energy. If you want to deepen into your feminine, you have to cultivate strong masculine containers. You have to create boundaries for yourself. You have to create systems for yourself to allow yourself to thrive in your feminine energy. That way, you're not having to utilize your masculine energy as much. You're able to flow and just follow your creativity, follow your intuitive nudges, and really thrive in the feminine. Like, flow like water, you guys. Like, the feminine is ease and flow and calling things in, right? So if you are constantly in your masculine energy and you're constantly in the mode of doing and doing and doing and making things harder than they need to be, you're not creating space and freeing up time and energy for you to focus on manifesting, focus on your desires, focus on calling in what you want, focus on your next level. Being so deep in your masculine as a woman really limits our expansion because we don't have the same testosterone as men. We don't have the same hormones as men that allow them to just use their masculine energy most of the time. And like, men thrive in that. They were created to thrive in their masculine. And as women, we were created to thrive in our feminine, but we both need each other. The masculine without the feminine, so boring. It's so boring and so dull. And the feminine without the masculine is chaotic AF. Like, that's why we were created in pairs, and that's why we were created in a universe of balance and duality. Everything requires balance, you know? I want to talk a little bit about what that looks like to really like cultivate your masculine energy in a healthy way, because a lot of what we learn about masculine energy and like what we see in the world, a lot of it is not embodied in the healthiest way. So, masculine energy is the energy of containment. So, it's containment, safety, stability, groundedness, practicality, planning, um, those sorts of things. And the feminine is intuition, it's manifesting, calling things in through your embodiment, things being drawn to you. Like the feminine receives, you know? Yeah, that's why, we have yonis. We're meant to call things in and to receive. In the West, especially, we are programmed and conditioned to value masculine energy more. Like America, for example, or just the West, and honestly now, like the world in general, is ran by predominantly masculine societies. Like, even, the structure of a 9 to 5 is very masculine. You spend this much time, you make this much money. You exert this much energy, you make this much money. That the energy of that is very masculine. And a lot of women have found ways to thrive in their masculine energy. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna add. Okay, I just got another download for a chapter to add to Embodied Feminine when I update it. Even like the energy of the way that we operate as a society at large is very masculine in a lot of ways, and so we kind of have been taught to devalue the feminine. It takes away from the sacredness and the expansiveness and the beauty of the feminine. And so I feel that it's very important that we restore divine feminine energy on this planet. Like a lot of what's happening like in our world, a lot of war and like senseless violence and things like that. It's not a result of too much masculine energy, but it's a result of um, hyper egoic, toxic masculine energy. Because masculine energy is actually not egoic or toxic, but too much of anything is a bad thing, right? And so, in order for us to, restore the divine feminine and bring more peace and healing to the planet, it's really important that we understand what embodied, healthy masculine energy looks like so that we can integrate it and deepen into our feminine so that we can feel safe within our own being and deepen into our feminine. Because with the example of like a woman who depends on men to be her only source of masculine energy, right? If he leaves her, she's going to feel unsafe, ungrounded, and not feel whole as a being, not feel like she can take care of herself, or just end up staying in a bad situation because she felt like that was her best option or her only option because she's not able to take care of herself. And a lot of women take this concept and misconstrue it in a lot of ways. A lot of women say, don't allow a man to provide for you because you need to be able to take care of yourself, because what if he leaves you? That's not what I'm talking about. You can allow a man to provide for you because, like, the masculine provides. You can allow a man to provide for you and still be in your feminine and still have your own money and still have skills to call in money. It's not about like you have to be working 40 hours a week just like him. Otherwise, you're not adding value to the relationship or you're not able to take care of yourself. It's not about that. If you have education, even if it's not, from a fair university, if you have knowledge about herbalism or about energy healing, how to farm, how to garden, or something like that, if you have any type of skill sets, all you have to do is learn how to use those skill sets to call in money in a way that feels good. And if anything, having a man provide for you will make it easier to do that because you're not stressed about bills and you're able to do that from the feminine. It's really important to be able to provide for yourself, not just financially. Like a lot of men say that they want independent women, and women think that that means a boss babe who's like never available and doesn't have any like homemaking skills, just knows how to make money. That's not what men mean when they say they want an independent woman. Men want a woman who is emotionally independent. She can hold space for herself, she can hold space for him, and allow him to hold space for her as well. But it's not needing to vent every single time a little issue pops up. A woman who is just confident and grounded, um, that's what men mean when they say they want an independent woman. I want to briefly talk about how to cultivate healthy masculine energy and masculine containers for yourself. So having really, really strong boundaries. Um, Not the type of boundaries where you have to go around telling everybody, this is my boundary, and then crying when they break your boundary. I'm talking about internal boundaries, boundaries from within, boundaries with yourself. So, not a boundary like, let's say, I'm just going to use this as an example. This is the first thing that pops in my mind. Let's say you have a boundary that you don't sleep with men that you're not in a committed relationship with. So, an external boundary would be every time you go on a first date, you tell the man that you're not going to sleep with him because you don't sleep with men outside of a committed relationship. But then after the date, you go to his house and you get drunk and you lay in his bed. That's a fake boundary. So now you're leaving it up to him to uphold your boundaries because you told him, I'm not going to do this. But everything in your energy and everything in your embodiment is saying that you yourself don't even take that boundary seriously. Basically, what I'm saying is it doesn't make any sense to leave your boundaries up to other people. A woman who has that boundary within, a woman who says, I'm not sleeping with men that I'm not in a committed relationship with, is going to go on dates in public, not get drunk in private settings with men, maybe not even go, like, everyone's boundaries are going to be different. It's going to look different for everyone. And it's just an example. A woman who has those type of boundaries wouldn't even need to say that I don't sleep with men that I'm not in a relationship with. It would just be known based on the way that she carries herself. And so that's just one example. It's an easy example to use with men, but there's so many different examples of having boundaries within in all types of relationships, and not just boundaries in your relationships but boundaries with yourself. So a lot of times we focus heavily on boundaries with other people, but the reality is that everything is internal, right? As within, so without. We create our realities based on our energy. This life is not a camera, it's a projection, it's a reflection of us, it's a mirror. And so the most important thing is having boundaries with yourself. So, simple things like if you know that you've struggled with acne and you're really trying to clear up your skin, not going to sleep with makeup on, making sure you're disciplined with your skincare routine. If you know that you're trying to focus on improving your health, you should have healthy foods in your home and, set the boundary with yourself that you're going to be conscious about what you eat and make decisions that align with that. So, having good boundaries within. Another thing is making decisions one time and automating things. If you're finding like any area in your life where you feel like you're having to make the same decisions over and over and over again with things like finances or going out or like friendships, let's say people ask you for money a lot. Every time you go through a whole process of getting a little anxious, feeling bad, worrying about, how they're going to receive it if you're not able to give them the money, having to look at your finances and make that decision and be like, well, can I spare this $20? Can I do that? Instead of having to do that, What if you made a decision one time, right? You really sat with yourself, got in your body, like grounded your energy, and said, you know what? I'm okay with lending people money, but I'm not going to stress myself out about if they're going to pay it back or not. So if I'm going to lend someone money, it's going to be an amount that I would be comfortable not receiving back. And it's going to be from my overflow. So I'll only lend money from my checking account, never go into my savings, and it'll never be more than 5% or 10% of what's in my checking account. Something like that is a good example of like having energetic boundaries and deciding once. That way you're just eliminating the decision fatigue and the extra thinking, and just like literally for me, like part of being in my feminine is having to think as little as possible. And another thing that like will be really helpful for those of you that experience anxiety, this is something that I've been implementing that really has helped me not be nearly as anxious, is within your relationships, right? If you find that you're someone who overthinks a lot, something that I suggest is having open conversations with the people close to you. You know, being a little bit vulnerable, letting them in on the things that you tend to overthink about, and making commitments with them that you will communicate in those certain areas. So let's say, for example, if you are someone who is anxious about maybe like being too clingy, right, with someone you're in a relationship with, you find yourself like overthinking about whether this person wants some alone time, whether you're being too clingy, whether wanting to be in their energy too much, like you're worried about them feeling overwhelmed or suffocated or something like that. So number one, you want to do inner work. You want to do, inner work around worthiness and your core beliefs. Figure out where that's coming from and what core belief is associated with that. And number two would be to have a conversation with them. Say something like, hey, I've been noticing that I've been overthinking about this a little bit too much. I just wanted to have a conversation with you about it and let you know that I'm working through it. I'm working through my anxiety, and it would be really, really helpful for me if we can commit to each other that we are always going to communicate. If you need some alone time, it'll make it a little easier for me to trust that if you need some alone time, you're going to let me know. Like there's so many different areas that you can do that with, but anywhere you find yourself overthinking, that's a good thing to do, because it'll just help you be in your brain less and be in your body more and be in your energy more. So as you guys may know, this video is a part of a series. So I'm going to end this part here, and I will be talking a little bit more about boundaries and masculine energy, and those types of things will come up throughout the rest of the series. So yeah, definitely subscribe and watch the rest of the series so you can get like the full picture of how to really, really deepen into your feminine.
Perfecting my craft 'cause I know I'm the one. Watch how I crash and collide with the sun. Impressions on swim. My intention is set on the wind, and my mission is always to heal. At the same time, I'm counting these M's, counting these M's. Dug myself out of the ashes and rose with a passion. My greatness is